Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. Hi, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Breakthrough Brand podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth McCravey, and I have been so eagerly awaiting this episode to air. If you're a longtime podcast listener, you guys know I love Showit. I'm a longtime Showit user myself. I'm a Showit design partner and I sell Showit templates. And to say that I sometimes dream in the Showit interface and just love talking and gushing about Showit is an understatement. However, website platforms can be confusing. Showit can feel confusing. So I brought on Showit Support Pro Parker Pearson to talk all things Showit with me. And this isn't a super technical, like how to set up your site type of interview. It's actually way more interesting and helpful than that. We get into some tech stuff, but it's also just a super fun conversation where we're talking about things like what's the number one question Showit support team is getting in their chat box? What's a day like working at the Showit office? What does Parker love most about Showit? How Showit has changed over the years, even since he first started as a team member. Showit features and changes coming, hangups and headaches around launching your site and how to deal with those, how to get faster and better support from Showit's team, and also just like fun stuff with Parker. He is really amazing and we have known each other for years and I've been at like multiple events and conferences together. And I really wanted to have him on so you guys can put a face to a name, so to speak, by hearing from like a real Showit team member who you might message with from time to time when you contact Showit support. Also, guys, right now I am hosting an epic giveaway over on Instagram to go with this amazing episode airing. This might be the biggest giveaway I've ever done, actually. So one winner will get an entire year subscription to Showit. That has a $408 value. And you're also getting 6 one-on-one calls with Parker throughout the year for more hands-on help, either learning more about Showit or if you just need extra help from a Showit Support Pro on your site. So you are getting the VIP experience and $408 value through an entire year of Showit. And that's not even it. You're also going to get a gift card to my template shop to go towards any website template of your choice. So you're going to get that website template and the Showit support and the amazing subscription to Showit. So all in all, this is an over $1,000 worth of prizes. Pretty epic giveaway. So shout out to the Showit team and to Parker for hooking us up with that Showit subscription giveaway. So head to my Instagram to enter there. And now, without further ado, I want to play this amazing conversation about all things Showit and websites with Parker.
Hey everyone, my name is Parker. I've been with Showit for, it'll be 6 years for me in May of this year, which is quite a bit of time for myself. Showit here is based in Gilbert, Arizona, and so I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Not super close to the office, but what I get to do here at Showit is totally worth my commute. And so my title is customer support. That's the title that when I got hired on, has been the title ever since. So anytime, if you're a Showit user and if you're in a question, I've probably talked to you at some point within your Showit cycle. And so I help jump in with questions. I also help with one-on-ones from time to time with people. I'm the Showit extrovert of the company. So I'm the one who gets sent out to different conferences. So certain conferences, you might see me there representing Showit. And so I have a small hand in, the marketing side of things a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like you do a lot. Yeah, you are like customer support, but like you just said, you're also like front facing at things, which is really fun that you get to do all the different things. So, okay, 6 years ago is when you started at Showit. What was life like before Showit? And were you always like interested in working in tech and websites and stuff?
Yeah. So before Showit, I was actually a janitor full-time at a middle school. So I was cleaning toilets, cleaning up bathrooms out from like, I think the school was kindergarten through 8th grade. And I was doing that from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. every day, and also going to college at the time. So looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I worked 40 hours plus doing like, 5 classes a semester. And so I was working full time then. And then I had a friend who is one of my best friends who came to live with me, knew Todd, our CEO, and was like, hey man, like, one thing led to another. He got hired randomly. And then he was like, hey, you want to come work for Showit? And I was like, I had trying to get a communications degree. I can use a computer. I can type. I can, use WordPress and PowerPoint, but I'm not super techie. I don't know code. So when that opportunity arose, I was like, sure, but a little hesitant just because I didn't know what everything entailed. But, hearing everything from my friend really made me like happy to look into this endeavor. And so I kind of just said, you know what? I don't really want to clean toilets anymore. I'd rather go sit at a computer and see what this looks like. And all the stories that he had told me over his, like, I think at that point, 8 to 9 months being there was just super fun and intriguing to me. So I said, you know what? All right, I'm going to be done with it. I'm going to go jump ship. I'm going to still stay in school for now and, go from there. So I started part-time in May of 2017, I think. And then I was still in full-time school. And then within 6 to 7 months later, I was like, I'm going to drop out of college and do this full-time. So here I am almost 6 years later doing this full-time, and I've loved every second of it.
I love that. I love hearing that part of your story. And yeah, with Showit, I mean, okay, so you've been there since, Showit was so different that many years ago. That was actually around when I was getting on Showit as a designer, probably right about when you actually started working there. What would you say like the company was like back then, like 6 years ago versus like today? What are some things we can kind of hit on? They're like, okay, this is then, now here we are.
That's funny.
Which now today, actually, as we're recording, we didn't talk about this before recording, the new homepage launch.
Yeah, we
which looks so
just
nice.
pushed that out this morning. Yeah, we have some fun, other fun things coming up on the horizon that I can't talk about, but, keep looking out on social media for that. And probably by the time this airs, it'll already be out. But yeah, when I got hired at Showit, I think if I can remember correctly, I was like the 15th or 16th hire, somewhere in the teens. And I was working in Todd's backyard in his guest house. And so that's where Showit was like born and raised, or at least when I was there. It was in this long guest house that had like a few rooms, but all of us were like crammed in this little like small, probably like 800 square foot room. And then there were other adjacent rooms, but that's where I was a part of the support team. And there's a little bit of us, but looking at, you've been to our office now and seeing like, we joke, we're like, oh, we're actually like we're a full-size business. We have the office building that, we go to instead of, the backyard that we drive to someone's house and park in the dirt in the back and walk into someone's like guest house and work. So everything has changed a lot. And so it has been really cool just to see over these years, the company grow, but also like maintain this family aspect that I remember being there, brand new at 21, not knowing anything or knowing anybody, but everyone's like, hey, you're now part of this Showit family, like welcome to us. And that same concept has grown as the company has grown and stayed the same, which has been my favorite part.
Yeah. Yes. What would you say you love most about working for Showit now?
Yeah, I think definitely to piggyback off of the last thing I said was that just the fact that family is family and how everyone's doing mentally and like physically has been like really cool to see. And so again, like starting at like the small scale per se in my eyes to seeing now, I think we're at like, I know we're over 50 employees now, which is crazy to even think about. Has been just cool to see how internally we've all grown as a team, but also like as one big family.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, I would love to know too, before we get into like some of the more like day-to-day even of what it's like working for Showit. You don't use Showit as like a business owner, but you do use Showit like a lot as a someone working customer support. So when you think about Showit versus other website platforms or just like in general as like a way for us to build our websites, what do you love the most about the Showit platform?
So when I first got hired at Showit and over the years, like we've been able to test out other website hosting out there just to see like, okay, what is their customer support like? How can we differentiate ourselves from them as well as just grow as a company and grow as a business? So a few things that I really enjoy is the fact that like we're real people. We're real customer support people. We want to help you. I think our support team's now at 18 or 17 people,
Wow.
which is crazy to think that like I think we're over 35,000 people strong with users. So to think that we have sub 20 support in there is crazy to think about, but it's really not as bad as, those numbers actually shake out to be. But probably just the fact that like we truly want to help you. We want to help you. We want to see you succeed. We want to see you grow as a business, and whether that be a side hobby, whether this be a full-time thing, and everything in between. We just want to see growth. Another thing I love about Showit is just the fact that it is pretty simple, in my opinion. Like you said, like I don't use Showit as a website because I'm not I'm a business owner aside, but not using Showit like for a website. But just the fact that it's pretty simple to put up a quick website if you just wanted to content replace, the images and the text from any given of our free templates or a purchasable template. But also just the fact that it's drag and drop. It feels like Canva. It feels like PowerPoint. So if you're, knowledgeable in either of those two platforms, it seems, to be the easiest just to use. Obviously, as you know, and probably some of our listeners know, you can definitely get into the weeds of everything and really get nitpicky on what you like, what you don't want. But also with that comes the freedom to design your website how you want it to be, how you want your business to look on the internet, to be, set yourself apart within whatever industry you're in.
Yeah, Showit is truly like a designer's dream.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I always tell people it's like if you can think about creating something, chances are you probably can actually make it happen and Showit most things, which was so cool coming for me from WordPress to Showit, of like not feeling limited in what I can ultimately do, but feeling like I can actually make all the stuff happen that I'm thinking about from a design perspective. Okay, Parker, so let's switch gears to like what is like working customer support for Showit. I'd love to know what, like in the chat, which is how y'all primarily are doing customer support. Maybe we should even talk about that. But what would you say is like the number one question you guys get asked?
Oh boy. I would probably say the number one thing is, what is DNS? Or to follow-up question, what is a domain registrar? To me, obviously, I'm in it every day and I'm like, oh, that's a no-brainer. To you as a designer, you're like, oh, that's a no-brainer. But to some people, they're like, that's above my head, and that's totally okay. Domain registrar, or DNS, is domain name system, is what DNS stands for. And so that basically means that you want to connect your domain to our Showit servers. And so you will need the correct IP addresses to point your domain to our Showit servers. And to do that, that would be within your domain registrar, which is where you purchase your domain from. So Google Domains, GoDaddy, Squarespace, Wix, Bluehost, etc. The list can go on. So in my opinion, that's probably the number one I see most common, because it is pretty daunting, if you're not super well versed in it, changing things, especially the fact that they can take your website online or take it offline, making sure you have the correct settings. 9 times out of 10, your domain registrar, where you purchase your domain from, can set those up for you. So what our team does is just sends you a list of what, where you need to point your domain. And so 9 times out of 10, you can say, hey, so-and-so registrar, can you set this up for me? And they'll do it for you. And if you want, another confirmation that it's set up, you can always send in a screenshot from your registrar to our support team, and then we can verify those are the correct records set up for you.
Okay. Yeah, that's good for people to know if they can message you guys again. And I know that I feel like that's actually like a number one question we get too in my customer support for my templates. With that, would you say, is there like all the domain places you can buy domains? You just mentioned a few. Do you have one that you're like, you feel like this is the best place to buy, or one you prefer over others?
Our personal that we as Showit kind of say, hey, this is one we suggest, is Google Domains. They're really easy to set up. They set up great with, I think it's now Google Workspace instead of Business, right? And so if you needed like a special email or email hosting set up, because we here at Showit don't host any emails, that would be the easiest way to integrate. Would be, most people have a Gmail, or most people want to set up a business through a Gmail account. With that, having your email and your domain underneath one umbrella just makes it easier in the long run. Yeah.
And I use Google I use Google for my email for like our domain-based emails, but then my domains are through GoDaddy. But I always suggest Google to people as well, but I bought mine so long ago that I've just kept them all at GoDaddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's cool. So with a day doing customer support, what would you say y'all's days are like as you're like going through all the messages? That there's 18 of you guys doing customer support now, which is crazy. What's a day like in customer support for Showit?
I think it depends on the season. So I guess we call them seasons. And so right now it's still, we would consider the beginning of the year. And so right now is probably one of our more busiest seasons. Kids are back in school. Everyone wants to get their business up. Depending on what field of work you're in will depend on the busy season as well. But we see that, over the last few years, January through April is our busiest season of the year. And so right now, what we do is we come in every morning at 8 a.m. like Arizona time, and we jump in. We all have our different queues. We all have a chat system. So if you were to message in, for example, you would get, thrown into our queue of when you send a message in. And so we will then sort that by oldest, and we'll just start going from there. We'll start answering questions. We'll start sending articles. We might send Loom videos, screenshots, and start attacking from the oldest to the newest, just because that's just the queue times. We would rather help out the people who've been waiting longer compared to the people who are just coming in right at 8 in the morning. And so we all get after our own personal queues because every night it stacks up. And so we all have, a decent amount every morning, and then we all come in and we have different areas that we specialize in, I guess you could say. Anything from domains to setting up DNS to setting up blogs. We all are under the support umbrella, but we all do different things within support. So like I mentioned earlier, I do a little bit of the more conference, like in-person people facing things, one-on-ones, video calls, etc. And so I specialize in that, whereas most of my other team doesn't. And they're more, whether it be domains or blogs, etc. So
yeah, it's good to have that variety. And let's go and talk about real quick. When this episode airs, you guys, Parker and Showit are giving away a year of advanced blog subscription to one of you guys and 6 calls with Parker to talk about your Showit needs. So come to Instagram to enter that, because that's so exciting. And that's awesome though, that you as one of the customer support team members can be that front facing, I'm going to help you more face-to-face type of support.
Yeah, absolutely. We as support want to help you as a business owner build and own the fact that, you built your site, because a lot of times it can get a little daunting. And so we want to, as a support team, help you guide you along that path and just trying to figure out, how to do this. How do I set up this? But at the same time, we are not you either. So we're not designers. The joke that we have is we can make things look, function really well. We just don't know how to make it look pretty. And that's where you come in, Elizabeth. That's where you and the designers come in to make it look pretty. And then we will answer and help, all the technical questions that, sometimes can get over people's heads. So same with the one-on-ones that we're offering here. I'm super excited to meet with, the 6 of you that win that. But also know that I can't make it look pretty for you. You don't want me to make it look pretty for you. I can just help you, learn more about Showit, or just help, different things within your website function, better.
Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. solution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravy.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravy.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. Yeah, love it. With customer support, so when people listening are like, hey, I want to reach out to Showit's customer support, which first of all, that's just like in y'all Showit account in the like bottom right corner. You just click the button and can start chatting. But is there anything you would say for us when we're having tech issues that would help us do a better job of communicating with you so that we get the solution quicker?
Yeah, totally. I think it just depends on the situation, but for our team, we have seen screenshots help. Like number one, if you have an issue with a specific like page, like if you could name the page, the canvas, and then what elements within that canvas, and then maybe even send a screenshot, that would probably prompt a quicker response, just because then we're not having to go back and forth with you being like, okay, what page is it? Okay, what canvas is it? And so we're able to help you quicker, and you're able to fix that issue. So it's not, you're trying to launch or it's already live and you're trying to fix something that's live on your live site. So probably screenshots. A Loom video also helps our team as well if you have Loom. Anything that kind of, specifies what the issue is to our team is just easier for us to not play the back and forth game.
Yeah, that's helpful. With all this talk of Showit, you probably want to give it a try if you're not already a Showit user. You can try Showit for free for a month with my referral code Elizabeth. Just head to elizabethmccravy.com/free month, all one word, to get 30 days of Showit absolutely free, even after you've done a free 14-day trial. And then just use the code Elizabeth when you sign up. Now, back to the episode with Parker. And when would you say that someone might be relying on asking you guys for help too much versus coming in and being like, I'm going to hire a designer or someone who does like Showit development as like an hourly service? What's the line, would you say?
Oh boy. I would say if you are looking to hire a designer, if you are needing that extra help in terms of you're wanting someone to build out your website for you, whether it be pages, whether it be, your whole site, whether it be a few pages, whether it be your blog side of things. Because in general, most of the time, we'll help you with different articles, different Loom videos we can send. But if it's getting to a point where we are almost like helping you, like hand holding you, and it's hard to like define that because it's person to person based, right? And it depends on how intricate they want their site. But I think the rule of thumb is like if you are needing a lot of help and you're sending a lot of different questions in, and you're just needing the extra like push over the line, I would then suggest looking at hiring a designer, hiring someone for hourly. Our Showit designer page is great. Our Facebook user group's also great, just because you can post previews of your website there. You can ask for, there are other people in there who probably know way more than I do, or as much as I do, who would love to help you out as well. And that's just free help there as well.
Yeah, I love the Showit user group for even like, if it's not a support question, we're even just wanting someone's opinion of like, or could I do this? It's like a great like crowdsourcing. And you're right, that group is so active with a lot of designers in it, Showit team members in it, just everyday Showit users who know a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about blogging with Showit. That is something, gosh, I mean, as a designer, and again, as someone who also like, we do it like customer support too for my templates, where it's like, we say, come to us with template specific problems, come to you guys with like tech problems. But the WordPress side of blogging trips people up.
Absolutely.
And I've explained on this podcast, I have a literal episode that explains this, but I would love for you to explain to everyone of like how WordPress and Showit work together for blogging in just like a simple way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking back to your question earlier of like, what is the number one question support? That would probably rival DNS is like how my blog works, because it is a little complicated being an outsider coming in. But hopefully I can kind of, clarify anything that's out there. So it kind of breaks down in two parts. So we have the design aspect of your blog. And so what I would consider that being is the fonts, the text, the layout, the spacing, the coloring, etc. of your blog, how you want it to look, would be designed within your Showit blog template pages on the left-hand side. So that would be your blog page, which essentially is your home page for your blog, and your single post page, which is all of the design for all of your blog posts when someone selects a specific blog post. Those two are essential to have within your design. If they are deleted, it will break your design and you will not be able to publish. So if that happens, you can come in and ask us, and we will help you reset up those pages and help you reconfigure those so that your site is able to be published. But those two pages are quintessential just because it's the overall look of your site or look of your blog. The other side of blogging is just WordPress. So just the creation of your posts. So just the content and the images. And that's it. We as support hate being the bad guys, telling you guys as the users, being like, hey, you set up 30 blog posts in your blog pages. Yes. You got to move them. I'm so sorry, because we don't like doing it. You guys don't like doing it because it's time consuming. But yeah, just the design side of things in Showit and the WordPress side of the content in WordPress. And that's it.
Yeah. And that problem you said, people writing their blogs and Showit is such a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
And I've also had to break people's heart with that of like, hey, and for people listening who are like, wait, why can't I just do that? Because we've had customers be like, hey, like, why can't I just write in here? I'm used to Showit. It feels safe and comfortable. Why do I have to write it in WordPress? It is so much better once you have a lot of blog posts to just have it on WordPress. It's a nice place of like, you're not having to stylize on mobile and desktop. You're just being able to like, hey, focus on the copy and the content, and then doing all the categories and SEO settings within WordPress. It just makes a lot of sense if you're actually going to be blogging a decent amount.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what would you say is, and it might just be understanding WordPress is the hurdle, but what would you say is like the biggest hurdle people have with the blogging side of like getting that set up and getting started blogging with Showit?
I think a lot of people want to jump into their templates and design everything, which to each their own. I think that's a great thing that you're able to do, but also the flip side, whether you're using a free template or a purchasable template or a premium design per se, your blog template pages are ready to go. Like, you don't need to edit them. You don't need to change them if you like the design. Obviously, if you need to change the font and the text styles or the coloring on that, those can also be changed in your design settings. But if the overall layout, if you like the layout of your blog and single post from the design you chose, you don't really have to change anything. So a lot of people will go in and start changing everything, which will then inevitably break everything. And so then we also have to be the bad guys to tell you, hey, this isn't configured properly. We're so sorry, and trying to explain that to them. So if you like the template you choose and you like the layout of your blogs, it's ready to go. It's ready to be connected to WordPress. We've set that up for you, which is why, like Elizabeth said a minute ago, creating all your blog posts in WordPress is the easiest thing that you can do once everything is set up. Our blog team will set you up with a new blog if you're on the basic subscription, or we can also migrate content from Squarespace, WordPress.com, or WordPress.org through our advanced subscription.
Yeah. And that's too like something I feel like a lot of people don't get until you're doing it. But like when you buy a template and you're looking at the actual blog, like what it is going to look like once it loads, if it's like side by side, the blog posts are all side by side on the blog home, for example, you're just seeing that in in the different canvas views. So it might just look like this one image that was like related to the template, and then you see like, for my templates I always put like post title will automatically load here from WordPress, and post excerpt, and you don't have to edit any of that. But then like when you connect it, once you have say those 3 blogs, if it's 3 posts side by side, it's literally loading your image, your text. So it's like you can truly leave all that, even down to like you don't have to change out the images from your template on those blog pages.
Correct. I think another thing that a lot of people get tripped up on is the fact that when they're editing their just their Showit pages, they can click the preview button and see the changes live. But when you start working on the blog pages and the blog template pages and you click the preview button, you get confused. People might get stumped of like why nothing's updating to their WordPress. They have a WordPress account connected, and that preview actually won't work for the blog pages specifically, because the preview is what we call static content. And so it won't actually pull in anything from WordPress. So if you make changes to your blog, you would need to go to your live blog page and actually look on your live blog page to see those changes updated and see all those placeholders change from, all the, the dummy text that we have in there to your actual titles, your text, your excerpts, etc.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forget about that sometimes, how it is like you can't see as which that can also and for me at least, and I'd love to know maybe what you would suggest doing here. Like if you are making changes to the blog layout, I just try to go back and forth looking at my live blog and within Showit. And that's kind of how you also, if you're a designer, there's the designer test blogs, which is helpful to use I use those for building templates. What would you say people should do though, as they're like updating the blog then?
Yeah, I would suggest going through and kind of doing what you said, is just going back and forth between your live site and your editor and just clicking publish every time. Sometimes your, Google might get cached, so you'll have to clear your cache. That does happen pretty frequently, especially if you're making, a bunch of changes really quickly. That might happen. So you might not see those changes, relatively as fast as normal because you're cached. So you can go to your settings and more tools and clear cache to see everything update. But that would probably be the best thing that I would suggest doing when you're making and editing your blog. Okay,
cool. Okay, let's talk about launching our Showit websites. Yes. Bringing our site live, that is can be a tricky part, probably a time that you guys get a lot of questions. What would you say is the number one hang up you see people face when they're trying to bring it live? And then do you have any tips for people who are maybe they bought a template and they're taking forever to update it and they're like, I need this to just actually start working for my business. What would you say to them about getting it live?
I think being in this industry so long, and I say that loosely just because I'm not really an entrepreneur or a business, trying to be a photographer or a coach or a designer, et cetera, is just everyone tries to make it perfect, in their eyes, perfect. Whereas it's probably, if you've had, your friends and family check it out and they're not seeing any grammatical errors, seeing any links that are broken, you, like I mentioned earlier, you can send your preview to our Facebook group and people can, go through and make sure everything works. If no one's seeing that and everything looks, functioning and darn near perfect, just click publish, just connect it, because you can always make changes to your site. Some people think that once they publish their site, they're unable to make edits, which is kind of crazy to me, but you can always go back and update and change things within your site for your live site. So you're not stuck with whatever you make. So I think a lot of people just get hung up with the fact that it needs to be, in their eyes, completely perfect before they get it live, which sometimes delays the fact that their site's not up, and then business isn't coming through the doors, and then they might get discouraged because I was supposed to launch my site a month ago, but because it's not perfect, it's not going to go live. But at the end of the day, I think what I've seen most is trial by fire, right? And just the fact that every day isn't going to be perfect, and that's okay. And you can learn from that, and there are other people, and I'm sure you have your story and through your business, growing your business and where it is now, of not every day was perfect, right? And so just by getting your business and your website up and launched is a big step, and you can always ask for help from our team or our community or any of our designers as well.
Yeah, good advice. Just bring it live. Whether you're new to Showit and need a full website, or you're already a Showit user and you're looking for some add-on templates, you need to check out my Showit template shop. There you'll find 13 full site templates to choose from, plus tons of add-ons like sales pages and podcast pages, plus my latest add-ons, the speaker template and quiz template. Every template is strategically designed with conversion in mind, set up for strong SEO, and they all come with tutorials to guide you as you navigate learning this new platform. I am a Showit design partner with over 1,300 happy customers, which I still cannot believe that. So fun to say. And as a podcast listener, I would love to welcome you to the template family. So head to elizabethmccravey.com/shop to see all the templates, all the add-ons, all the good stuff right there. And you can use the code BBPodcast, short for Breakthrough Brand Podcast, for 10% off any website in the shop. So enjoy, reach out to me with any questions. And now back to learning more about Showit with Parker. And I would add too, if it's your first website, so if nothing is currently at that domain, something I see people make a mistake around is like, they're like, okay, April 12th is my launch date. So I'm going to contact Showit that day. And then I will ask them to bring it live. And that's going to be my launch day. When in reality, you could bring it live a lot sooner and then just not announce it that day. And that'll probably give you a lot more peace of mind because you'll have time to check out the WordPress side, make sure the blogs are all working, go ahead and start some of that up. So not necessarily making your launch day the same day you're talking to Showit's team and getting it live.
Yes. Yes. That is the other thing that I see people also try not to launch, which sounds a little weird. Try not to launch on a weekend. Our team's not in on a weekend. So we are there Monday through Friday. We have a few people on in the weekend, some of our part-timers, but we don't usually voice that very often just because our whole team's not in. There's probably one or two people on the weekend. So if you're trying to launch, we don't suggest Friday through Sunday just because, if DNS is wrong, if something else is, a hiccup along the way, our team isn't the most readily available. Whereas Monday through Thursday, or I guess Monday through Friday, we're all in every day.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good tip. Okay. Last main question for you before we do rapid fire questions. Is there any cool Showit features coming soon that you can share? I know you can't share everything on this podcast or anything even, at the time we're recording this, it is late March. So this will air like a little bit later than that. But is there anything like recently that's released that you're like, oh, this is so cool, people might not have realized it's here yet, that they should check out?
Yeah, I think let's think here. So I'm not really in the marketing side or the development side, I guess both really, to know what's coming down the pipeline. We joke that we as support just kind of get told things in the end and we're like, okay, cool. 2 thumbs up. We'll figure it out when we'll help everyone, with all the questions from that. A big thing that we pushed out a while ago was just the grid lines and just being able to have real grid lines show up when you're trying to align different things. Because we had the alignment tools before. Those weren't always the greatest. We totally understood. But as our development team has grown, we've also implemented the grid lines. Social grid's great. Yes. I've seen a lot of people out there who still use Light Widget, I think it's called, and Snap Widget. Those are okay for Instagram, embedding Instagram to your site, but we've allowed connection from our end through what we call social grid, and you can actually connect your Instagram account, and you can actually have multiple Instagram accounts within your Showit account connected, so you can have different feeds if you had different businesses, or you had your main business and then you also had a shop side Instagram. You could connect those two to your account as well. So those two are the most recent. I would just be on the lookout in the next, again, by the time this podcast airs, you will see the changes that we're making. So,
yeah. And yes, what you said about the Instagram grid stuff, that's so helpful because I always hated using Snap Widget and Light Widget. So I would tell people just put up a kind of false feed almost and link each photo to your main Instagram homepage. But yeah, the integration you guys have now is so nice. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah. And then with the grid snapping, it feels so nice when you're moving stuff and it's popping kind of into place and you can know okay, this is aligning with that. It makes it so much easier versus sometimes prior you might would have felt like you were kind of guessing of is that going to align there and whatnot. And you guys as Showit's team, so good at listening to Showit users, to us designers, and to everyday users, be hey, what can we do? What are our pain points? And y'all are constantly trying to improve the software, which is so appreciated.
Yeah, I think to go off of that, just the fact that when I got hired, our development team was one person.
So crazy.
In the grand scheme of things, we just had one guy, and he is our, when he's out, we are oh boy, here we go. But now that we have a big development team, I think they're over 12 or 13 downstairs. They are, we're finally getting to all of those different pain points we see. We're doing a lot of updates from the behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see, security wise is the big one and the number one thing that we want to look out first, keeping all of your account and privacy information secure from our end. But then obviously all of the different design features that some website hosts have that we want to try and integrate. But if you ever have one and you're hey, I don't see this in there, you can always let us know, and we always keep track of them in a list. And so the more requests we get, the more we can then send down to our development team and kind of push them, being hey, can you push this higher on that list
Yeah.
to update our app for?
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like I see in like, I guess you're not in there, but on the Slack design partner channel, people are constantly being like feature request idea. And it's like something you're like, oh, it's like, sometimes it's like you didn't even realize you needed it. The other times it's like, oh, like I've also felt that would be cool. So yeah, love that. Okay, Parker, let's do a few rapid fire questions.
Perfect.
Okay, what's your most unpopular opinion about websites?
Most unpopular opinion about websites. Keep it simple. I think like a lot of people try and make this gigantic, grandiose, like over the top, really intricate website. And to each their own. But if you keep it simple and you keep your message really simple to who you're trying to convey your business to, I feel like from what I've seen over the years, like 9 times out of 10, that works way better than trying to make your site like 20 different pages, a bunch of different links, making it super in-depth and detailed. But that's just my opinion.
No, that's good. Simple works. Yeah. And not feeling that pressure to like make it something huge from the get-go, even is a good way to put it, and let your website grow with your business.
Absolutely.
Love that. Okay, if our listeners lived in the same city as you with your extroverted self, where would we be most likely to run into you in real life?
Yeah, I love. Let's think here. Okay, so I love like sports. So like if you're out at like a pickleball court, like we've been in Showit, we've gotten really into pickleball. We just had a pickleball tournament like a month ago,
fun.
like all staff wide, and so we were at we rented out some courts. So you'll probably see me playing pickleball. You might see me at like a coffee shop, whether in the downtown Phoenix area or the Gilbert area, depending on where I'm at that day. Or I love sushi personally. So like any sushi spot around Phoenix area, I will probably be at least once every few weeks.
Yes, love that. I love sushi too. What book have you read recently, or even not recently, but that you just want to recommend to friends and that you'd recommend to listeners?
Yeah, I'm not a huge book reader personally, but we have started doing this thing within our support team called the book club. And so every month, we try and read a book together as a team just to grow as people.
That's cool.
And so the one we read recently is Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. And so I really enjoyed that. Again, I'm not a book reader 9 times out of 10, but I was like, okay, like if we're doing this as like a team, like it'll be fun. And it actually is really impactful just seeing different sides of business. Like I'm not an entrepreneur at heart, but just seeing different styles of leadership, but also knowing like there's different topics she brings up, like vulnerability, and just seeing like how open as a support team we can be to one another, but also like help each other in our weaknesses, but also, promote each other when we're in our growing seasons as well.
Yeah. How does that work during the book club? Are y'all just like meeting like once a month during work hours to talk, or?
Last book club, so the Dare Lead was once every week. So every Thursday we'd meet at 3 for like 15 to 20 minutes, read certain sections every week. Yeah. This next one we're going to be starting up in the next month in April. We will be doing every other week.
That's cool. That's it. I can see how that's a great team bonding, stopping work, all growing together concept. I love that. Okay. So to close, tell people where they can connect with you and also about the giveaway opportunity.
Yeah, totally. If you have any questions after hearing this podcast, you can always email me directly at parker@showit.co. I'm not the best at responding to emails. I will just say that first and foremost. But the other way you can reach out to me is if you go down, like Elizabeth said earlier, into your account and reach out into our chat and just say, hey, I listened to the Breakthrough Brand podcast, and I would love to be chatting with Parker.
Special request for only Parker.
This might be a double-edged sword later, but for now, I think it's a great idea. We're just going to send it. So yeah, you can always message me there. But those are the 2 best ways to contact me through our system.
Love it. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, so you guys go tell him that you listened to this and what you learned and all that. That's so fun.
I am more than happy to answer any questions, whether it be something I had said on this or something that you might come up and, think about off of anything that Elizabeth or I have said. Yeah. I'd love to answer any questions and just see you as a person succeed in your business.
Yeah. Yes. Parker's here to help. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode all the way until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my website template shop too. Over on elizabethmccravey.com, you'll find Showit website templates that are easy to use, strategically designed, and created to help you book more clients and customers. Maybe your current website is really boring. Maybe it's a challenge to update, and maybe even it's that thing that you really feel like is just completely holding your business back. Your website needs to be strategically and intentionally designed in order for it to convert your viewers into raving customers, and that's exactly what my M-Shop templates do. So these are pre-made Showit website templates where you can plug and play your content into it with ease and then get started with a website that's designed to actually help you make more money. These templates are designed to be SEO friendly on the back end, and they're not just pretty, but they are very strategic and with all the strategies I teach on this podcast. And best of all, they're easy for you to set up all by yourself. So shop them at elizabethmccravey.com/shop and come join the M-Shop family of hundreds of happy customers. And as an added perk, you can use the code BBPodcast at checkout to get 10% off any template as a thank you for being a part of the podcast family. So that's BB Podcast for 10% off any template over at elizabethmccravey.com. And if you love this podcast, don't forget that you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you never miss an episode, and leave a rating and review for the show wherever you're listening. Share it with a friend, share it on Instagram or Facebook. That's a great way to support the podcast and get the word out. All right, I'll be back next week with another new episode.